Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Atlantic Council at the conclusion of a great panel discussion on human rights in Russia, and we're joined by Tom Malinowski, who was the Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights in the Obama administration. You're still detoxing and don't have a new affiliation yet. Thanks very much for joining us. I just spoke to Vladimir Kara-Murza, and I asked him the question about how important the voice of the President of the United States is toward democracy movements around the world. That's something that you addressed in your comments on the panel discussion where it was you, Vladimir, and Carl. How important is the language that the President of the United States uses to support movements around the world?
I think the President's voice is extremely important in the United States. The President tells our story to the world. The President is the American who is seen by people all around the world as the main representative of our country. And I'm afraid that this President's voice on human rights issues is going to be either absent or contrary to what American presidents have tried to stand for through Republican and Democratic administrations. This president, when confronted with allegations of human rights abuses by President Putin, for example, President Trump has changed the subject to perceived sins committed by the United States. He's suggested that the United States is the moral equivalent of Putin's Russia. So I think we have to be realistic and take the presidential voice out of the equation, but that doesn't mean that America can't have a voice, because America is in fact more than just the president. It is the American people, it is America's civil society, it is our Congress, very, very importantly, and there's a tremendous amount that we can do to continue to project moral influence in the world, so long as we understand with and confront the problem we're facing within the United States today.
What are some of the ways to do that? Obviously, Vladimir was here to testify before Congress, among many other things that he's doing. He's doing a lot of engagement work as well, here in Washington. What are obviously there have been prominent voices. We had Ben Cardin here, the Democrat from Maryland. We had Marco Rubio here as well, Republican from Florida. Both very prominent voices. Lindsey Graham and John McCain are continuing to do the Lord's work in Congress. But is it enough for prominent senators to be the one who are delivering these messages ultimately?
Nothing is ever enough. I think it is very important, though, that respected leaders of both parties continue to promote American values, universal values, to the American people and to the rest of the world. What's not enough is just their voice. We also need our Congress to take certain actions. We need Congress to protect our foreign affairs budget, including the funding for programs that support human rights activists and democracy activists around the world. A 37% cut to the State Department budget is not going to enable us to do anything serious in this area or any other area that we care about around the world. Number two, we've got to make sure that whatever we're doing affirmatively for Russian human rights activists or not, that we do not make matters worse by allowing this country to be a safe haven for the proceeds, the profits of corruption and repression in countries like Russia. It is much too easy, as we have seen in the investigation of the election last year, for foreign kleptocrats to corrupt our own system by using anonymous shell companies, by investing in real estate, by cultivating powerful figures in the United States in that way. We can close those loopholes. The Congress has that responsibility. That's not something that we need to wait on President Trump to do. And I hope that the investigation into what happened with the election is accompanied by a legislative agenda that finally ensures that the United States is not a safe haven for dirty money from around the world.
But the United States is just one country, obviously a prominent country, but one country. This same accusation has been made for other European countries. UK, obviously, massive amount of oligarch money there. Obviously, one of the things that the UK was reticent to go along with sanctions after Ukraine, something that you were dealing with, obviously, in a very hands-on manner. What sort of international or global regime is necessary in order to make sure that, money flows like water, right? It'll go to the path of least resistance. What are some of the things that the United States can do to marshal some of its allies? And if not the United States, then is there anything that we can do to marshal one of our allies to help in this process?
Actually, we have marshaled our allies through the G20 under the Obama administration. We won commitments from all of our allies to, for example, close these loopholes that allow anonymous shell companies.
Let me rephrase the question then.
No. Let me finish
Okay,
the answer.
sure. Okay.
Which is that we have mobilized our allies. We have actually gotten commitments from many countries to raise international standards, but we ourselves have not met the commitments that we have made in those international fora. In fact, our European allies, for the most part, are ahead of us. So the first order of business is we got to fix our problems here in the United States. Once we've done that, then we can use the power and authority of the United States to encourage and in some cases compel other safe havens to follow suit.
Sir, thanks very much.
Of course.